Okay, hello gamers, Muckluck here, and back with another video where we talk about, thank you for the prime, where we talk about Guild Wars 2. We have just finished trying out every single new thing added in the Secrets of the Obscure final update. For those that don't know, Secrets of the Obscure was the first attempt by ArenaNet and the Guild Wars 2 company to do yearly mini expansions, where it has a reduced price tag compared to Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, and End of Dragons, but it is, they said on the front end, it was going to have less content. So this, their plan was to release the game, and then 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months later, there were big updates that added more to the game, and then 1 year later is the next expansion, which means 3 months from now, next expansion. So, this was the 9-month update. What we got today was today at the time of recording this was the 9-month update, and they added a bunch of new stuff. So first of all, the story. The story, and it's not my intent to spoil people, so I'm warning you ahead of time. This is a review. I'm talking about what I went through, so there will be spoilers in the video if you need to know. Okay, so the story. We have been, for months, for a long time now, within the lore of the game, we have been helping fight off the bad demons with the good demons. And today, I finally got the update, and it says, go meet with Patha, and we go there, and she's like, Wayfinder, it's time. I need you to help the demons fill this green bar. Now, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm not a fan of the green bars, because they just inflate playtime. I felt like it was even more of kind of like, I don't know, a slap in the face that it was at the front end of it. It was at the front end of it. Because it was like, we just started. We've been basically helping you with the events for months. Why is this the first thing on the list? Like, before I could even begin, I had to run around the map doing metas and puzzles and adventures and stuff to fill the bar. So I really didn't like that. That was like the immediate first thing was what I had to do was like 30 minutes to an hour of filling that bar. And I got boosters and all that stuff. So anyway, fine. We did that, we get into it, we join her, she gets ambushed, we fight off some enemies, I get an achievement for never letting her health get below 90%, 98 by the way. Bash some heads, I was playing Untamed, follow her to the Citadel and go in there, fight some stuff. There was an interesting moment in storytelling when we got to the room that had, they were like, apparently the demons all have like, ESPN or something. They were like, oh, we're sensing legions of people in the next room. The whole army must be in there. And I was kind of thinking like that whole, what's the word? Is like the terracotta like clay army or something? I was like, how is there a whole army in there? And then they go in there and then they scream. And I was already thinking there's going to be a twist because we're not hearing a lot. They're not hearing a lot of noise. There's something's going to be weird about this. We go in there, and sure enough, they scream, and apparently, like, they're all dead. Which brings to mind a lot of weird implications. If you can sense the souls of, like, these dead people, why are you not constantly always having your ghost radar going off from being surrounded by people that died around you in the past? I didn't really understand that, but maybe I'm just stupid. I often am. So they get through that room, we free the souls of the dead, yada yada. We continue up the hallway, we fight a few more stuff, and then we get to the big bad. We get to the big man himself. He sends one huge wave of stuff, and I had a blast, tearing through that. He sends us one huge wave of demons. I chew through it, and then we start fighting the boss. And I'd have to say he's okay. He was okay for a boss fight. It wasn't simple, it wasn't terribly challenging either. Get out of the red circle when you have to use the eye, use the eye on him. And the red areas are bad, stuff like that. There was nothing terribly complex. And then Isgarin comes in. The wizard comes in to save the day, and they call him out on it. And he's like, Patha, champion, with me. And then, which is code for everybody stand in the colored circle on the floor and hit their special action key. And I kind of was like, okay, because it made me think of Aurene, because you had to do the same thing with Aurene when you're fighting like Balthazar and stuff like that. Stand in the circle, hit the special action key. And we did it, and I was kind of glad that that was only a one-time thing. You just did it once. So you keep fighting him, he puts his shields up, you break his shield, and you keep going through it, kill the ass, stuff like that, and you get through the fight. And you get to the moment where Patha has her sword at him, and he's going to be killed or something. And he's like, I only ask that you absorb my power and, you know, don't waste all the lives that I ate. And she's like, it was so weird. She's like, do it for your people. And he was like, you don't know, you don't know. And I fully expected in that moment for him to tell us the Legion was on the way or something. Because, you know, I'm an ex-WoW player. And he was like, you don't know why I did what I did. And I was totally 100% expecting in that moment for him to tell us there was a bigger, badder bad on the way. And he was doing what he was doing to somehow stop them, and we just ruined it. You know, like he was Illidan trying to nuke Icecrown off the map. I don't know. But then he's like, absorb my powers. And she's like, they're not yours to give. And she fires a laser at him. And I was like, wait, was that like a zap zap laser or a slurp slurp laser? Like, I don't recognize her magic. I don't know what she just did. And like, no one was like, oh my God, she absorbed his powers. Oh my God, she nuked him. I didn't know what happened there. And I kind of felt, because I didn't, you know, I guess I didn't cast Detect Magic with high enough perception check or something. I did not know what she did. Did she disintegrate him or absorb him? Fortunately, a little bit later in the epilogue, I'm going to skip ahead for a second, you have a moment where you can ask her, you're like, do you regret not absorbing him? And I'm like, thank you. Okay, so now, you know, like 30 minutes later, I understand what happened in that scene. I think from a storytelling perspective, they could have done that scene better. They could have done that better. Also, one really funny scene here. There was a moment when we were fighting him during the meta, and I'll talk about the meta more. And he said some like really witty thing to her about how she was a terrible leader.
Save the Cryptus. I am the Cryptus. Niles begins and ends with me.
And that's why you let her die.
And she was just like, at least my wife's not dead. And he was like, blah! Dude, I was laughing so hard. Like, he said like this really intellectual sassy remark. I don't remember what it was, but she was like, lol, dead wife. And oh, what a time to get a raid on Twitch. Hey, thank you for the raid. We're basically reviewing the content so far. If you don't want spoilers, you have been warned as of now. So she was just being a jerk about it, which I thought was hilarious. Anyway, back to that scene. So then they take him out, you talk to the people around the room, you get a chance to talk with one of the demons, it was like Ramses or something, and he's talking to Isgarin, and he's like, you took your sweet time showing up, why are you so late? And he's like, you should be glad I came at all. And he's like, you only came once you were sure that we would win? And he's like, no, my priority was not saving your people. My priority is saving Tyria. I came once I was sure it would help me save Tyria. He was stronger than me. I had to work with you guys to kill him. You're not stronger than me. You need to watch you need to watch your tone. And I was like, ooh, I love that. I loved that. I loved that he had, you know, a little bit of complexity. He wasn't just like, you know, so black and white, narrow-minded. I loved that. So that was great. That was a moment in writing that I enjoyed. So you finish there, you clean up, and then you go for the epilogue. Now, at this point, if you don't count the green bar that I had to fill, my time playing this content was like less than an hour. And I really remember when I got to the epilogue, I was like, that's it? You know, I didn't hate it, but I was like, that's all? So I go there, I go to the epilogue, and then you talk to everybody. And some of it, even like Zoja, you know, she didn't have a big part in this, but her moment in the epilogue was voice acted. But then Lear, who has been voice acted before, was not voice acted in the epilogue. I found that kind of odd. But they go through and talk stuff. There was another couple of nice lines where the demons were like, what's the Undying guy's name? Galrath or something like that? They're like, oh, have you changed your opinion of us? And he's like, no, I've seen you fight. I'm not worried. I loved that. That was fantastic. So he shuts them down too. And then they reveal that like Ramses was going to stay as an ambassador, and they were gonna have some wizards like go into the demon realm and stay there to keep an eye on the demons, which doesn't seem like a great idea. And Paitha even made a joke if she ever gets tired of them that she finds humans delicious, so it's cool. And I was just like, is this a you're not free, you're under new management situation? Like, are we okay with this? Like, honestly, if Paitha is just good, that is the most boring outcome. Because it's like, we're helping a demon. This whole way, we've been helping a demon, and we're just like, cool with this. And anyway, you go around the tower and you're doing this stuff. You talk to all the people. There was a letter from a niece on a table to the Blade Lady telling her to get back to Divinity's Reach because she's needed. Some people that I've already spoken with in my chat think that that's a hint to the next expansion. Not sure. Maybe, maybe not. We found some of the demon kids playing tag in the Wizard Tower. And dude, that was really weird, because you gotta keep in mind, we've talked to some of the other wizards, and they were like, yeah, we've been fighting against the Cryptus for hundreds of years. Do you think these people who have been mortal enemies with demons for hundreds of years, on day 0 of the truce, would allow their children to come play tag in their yard with their kids? That seemed really fast to me. Like, that was just like, we just like skipped ahead a little bit. That just seemed really fast considering they have been like straight murdering each other for 100 years. Anyway, and then there was some of them were at the pool. Like if you don't know, there's a pool in the Wizard Tower, and they were over there like having a pool party with the demons up here, and like one of them was like, oh, I can't use the diving board, I'm so nervous. Oh, and it's just like, wow, okay, all right. So yeah, that I think was weird writing. But some of the main characters and the stuff they had to say, and they were like ready to get some R&R, stuff like that. I was like, all right, that's cool. All right, so that's the story. So now we've played the whole story. We've played the whole story of this expansion. All the previous times that I did these little review videos with my thoughts, some people are like, well, you haven't seen the whole product yet. You can't make a comparison. You know, well, guess what? Now I can. Daisy. All right, so what do I think about it? First of all, I don't regret my purchase. Soto was pretty cheap. It was like 20 bucks or so, 20, 25 bucks. And I've been playing it on and off for almost a year. I think if you like Guild Wars 2 before, you'll still like it now. I think if you hated it before, you're still gonna hate it now. I don't think it's going to change anyone's opinions from what they already were. However, you know, it was the first time trying the new format, and I think that if they continue doing this year by year, they're going to learn a lot about the workflow. Because if you are told by your company to do this new project every year, the first year is going to be the hardest, because you will figure out things like, oh, I have to get this to Sammy by August so that he can do his job. And then Sammy's like, oh, I got to get this to Maria by September so she can do her job. And Maria's like, I got to get this to Greg by next week because he sucks and he needs a lot of time. Freaking Greg. You know, whatever. So they're going to learn a lot about workflow from this, which may make it very easier to make the next mini expansion, if that is still their plan to do so. In terms of the story, the beginning was fine. When it was like the story that came with the release of the game, I thought was fine. That focused a lot on Zoja and meeting the wizards and stuff like that. It wasn't perfect. I thought it was weird that I'm like, hey, do you want me to call in a fleet of airships? They can help. And they're like, no, it's fine. And now we're like, oh, there's blood in the water. The Tyrians are going to find out. And I'm like, oh, they could have found out earlier if I'd called for backup, but he didn't want me to. But all the following story chapters, the 3, 6, and 9 month patches that involved like Patha and the good demons, I don't know. It seemed a bit too Disney for me. Like, it was very predictable. Wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It was fine. When I think back on my like favorite moments in Guild Wars 2, I'm not going to be thinking of Soto. It was fine. And that's just me. Some of you probably have a different opinion. That's totally fine. For me, you know, if you compare this to the parts that I thought were the best, like early Iceberg Saga, you know, before they ruined it, Living World Season 4, the End of Dragons, culmination, like the finale, all of those were absolutely magical by comparison. Like, those really stand out in my brain. Talking about the other things that they added to the game over the course of it, instead of elite specs, we got weapon master specializations and then new weapons for all the classes. I found that was a completely acceptable replacement for that. I wish we had gotten it at launch. We had to wait on those things, but it's pretty good. We also got relics, which I think they had a very poor way of launching them. Like, we like people with legendary runes. We nerfed your legendary runes and took away something that you worked for. We'll give it back in 3 months. You know, or that I don't like how they handled that, but it's done. And now we've got some cool new relics being added to the game, and I'll touch on that in a minute. So I think it's actually worth its own slot now, and it just wasn't launched very well. The strike missions are pretty cool. Convergences are pretty cool. I'm happy with those. That's all I really got to say on that topic. Okay, fractals. There's a new fractal that was added today. I did that, and I've actually run it twice today. I really liked it. Of all the new stuff I did today, that fractal was my favorite thing. It was challenging. Not so tough that I couldn't pug it, though. Like, for example, if you just get a pug of people that may or may not know CM Sunquaw, you may not be able to do it. You might not get it done. But the fractal, the new fractal 100, Lonely Tower or whatever it was called, it was pretty quick once we knew what to do. Like, my first one was very slow because we were figuring it out. The second one we blasted to the final boss in just a few minutes, and then the final boss we wiped on it a bunch of times because I was with a new group, and then we got him down. And it was challenging but not impossible, and it was a very good level of fun for me. I found it to be a very good level of fun. It was very spicy. I'm going to be working on a guide for that, but yeah, it was pretty cool. Let's see. Next up, the meta. The meta event, when I first tried to do it, it was bugged. Now, as I understand it, this is what I'm telling you is at this moment in time what the people I'm speaking with in my chat think. There's a meta here, it has to be done. There's a meta here, it has to be done. Then on that map, if what's his name? There's one NPC that keeps getting bugged and he doesn't move. If he doesn't bug, you can do this meta. So those three things, Frody, thank you, Frode. Those three things. If Frode doesn't bug, this meta's done and this meta's done, then you are allowed to do this meta. I bounced across 8 maps before I was able to find one that was working. I finally found one. I went in there. My experience. First off, you have to break this shield thing. There's this thing with the sky scales. Well, as always, there's a giant cloud of sky scales, and they're all carrying bombs over, and you throw them at the shield. It's kind of neat, and you break through that. Then you go in here, and everybody like just was flying all over the place, and I was immediately lost as to where we were supposed to go. And it was like, find this person and get bombs from them. And I'm looking around. It turns out they were up in the air. It was an NPC on a sky scale way up in the air, and you had to ride a ley line up to them. So it took me a while to figure that out. Found them, got the bombs, was flying up, trying to figure out what to bomb. It was something way up in the sky, and then the group finished it. I never got to see whatever it was. Then it was like, there's a boss here. I'm like, oh, okay, so dive on the boss. Now, at that point in time, I was getting pop-ups for a tutorial for the grenades that I had gotten from the NPC, and I was closing that tutorial window. And apparently, chat told me another window popped up on something for this boss fight, and I closed that too, and I didn't see it. It was completely by accident. I just didn't see it. So I'm fighting this boss, Unga Bunga. I was in Untamed mode, and I started taking heavy damage, used my heal, made sure to get back from the fight, and I just died. I was like, I don't know what hit me, but I'm downstate now, so it's worn off. Because usually when you go downstate, debuffs wear off of you. I use a Jade Bot thing to resurrect, get back up, immediately die again. So this is either it was given to me again, or this is one of the few times in the game I got hit with a debuff that does not go away when you go downstate. Now, the boss fight, apparently, with the tutorial thing that I closed, it's like the final boss fight in Raidwing 2, where you get a debuff and you have to run to a fountain and stand in it and get your ankles clean, and that washes the debuff off of you. And there are apparently fountains around here. Now, this place is so gross and disgusting, I didn't even realize they were fountains. I thought they were just like puddles of blood. But what you need to do is, if you get the debuff that was killing me, you have to run over to those and get it washed off. And I didn't realize that, so I went downstate, revived myself, went downstate again, and I was like, what is going on? And chat was like, you got a debuff, you got to go wash off. And then the boss died. So I was like, okay. So it was a very quick fight. I and like 30 other people went downstate because they didn't understand what was happening, and yeah, so that was kind of annoying. At that point, you split up between two sides. I think I went over here, and I went through, and having like 50 people packed into an indoor hallway was chaos. I tried running it with this on lowest, but then I wasn't rendering the people or the enemies. Then I tried running it with it higher, and then it was just a massive Skittles. It was just a blast of color in the hallways, and I couldn't see anything that was going on. So it was honestly just a bad experience. I was pick lesser two evils. Additionally, the NPCs were yelling instructions, but if I turned down dialogue volume, I couldn't hear them. If I turned up dialogue volume, I heard 50 Norns going, just the grunts of combat from all those players completely drowned out the NPCs yelling instructions. So I never needed it before today, but apparently we need a slider for important NPCs separate from like the normal stuff. So we get through there, and then we get to a boss. It's a frog. It's a freaking frog from Maguma, but it's a demon frog. So we kill the demon frog, and then we wait, and then this group finishes whatever they're doing, and then we break into the Spire of Dreams. Now there was this one awesome moment where you first see Epark. He looks like the freaking Scorponok from Transformers. He crashes into the room using a model I've never seen before, and I was like, whoa! And it was shocking, and he breaks into the room, and it was great. So he comes in, and we fight him, and there's a tutorial on you need to go stand in puddles of emotion, and the tutorial is like a paragraph long, and by the time I read it, I was dead. It was such a long thing, and it's like, you need to stand in emotion to build up, and I'm like, all right, so I get revived, and I start doing that. I walk into a battle, and I get like, I think it was like the emotion of regret, which for some reason makes me hit faster. It was like uber quickness. So I was just start tearing into them, and I was top of the DPS chart. And then I disappear, and I appear like, it was supposed to be like in his belly, like when the Leviathan swallows you, and you have to like fight your way through the flesh wall to get out, and then he spits you back out. And then there was a few other mechanics going on that I didn't really figure out in time. He was summoning ads, and it very clearly said kill the ads or he'll eat them to regain strength. So we had people killing the ads. We had to stand in the puddles to get the debuff. You apparently again got the debuff where you had to run to the pools of blood on the corners of the room to go wash them off. So that was a thing. It had a bunch of simple raid mechanics, but teaching that to 50 people on day one who didn't know what was happening was absolute chaos. But it was fine. We got through it. We cut the enrage timer kind of close as my group. There was like 2 minutes left on the clock. We killed it. I will say, after the scorpion thing, the scorpion version of the king appeared, it was like he didn't even like swing. He was just like, kind of like a boss in Crypto the Necro Dancer. He was just like vibing, and then occasionally bat. Like, he was hardly moving other than vibing for most of the fight. And it was just like, when he first crashed in, he was like, rah! And I was like, oh my god, he's so cool. And then he was just like, like he just started dancing. I don't know. So that was kind of weird. I wish he had been like running around and hitting people or something, make it even more chaotic. But yeah, we beat it on my first try there. Overall, I gotta say, it didn't feel like a great experience. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know the answer and, like, here's what they should do to fix this. I don't think I'm, for this one, I don't think I have a magical answer for it. But I will say, I didn't have fun. I know that. My brain didn't make the happy juice. And I don't know how else to explain it than that. I don't anticipate I'm going to do this again. Unless I need to for some reason. Like, I've mentioned it when I reviewed the other metas. I don't like having such a heavy use of sky skills because it's just constant, like just my camera getting beaten by wings constantly is irritating. And this has a very heavy dose of that. So like the bomb run was fine. And then you go up and you drop the grenades. That's fine. Then you get to actually drop down and play your character for a minute. Unless you get hit with a dot in the game. They're like, yeah, you've heard of poison. What about super poison? It's not cleansable by anything known to man unless you go roll around in a pool of stagnant blood. Stuff like that. So then you deal with that, which is kind of a gimmick. And then you go in here, and this is just this was chaos. This was the worst part, when I was just crammed in here with 50 people in a small indoor space. And then you go in here, and then awesome looking boss. They made him look so good, but then he just kind of chills, and then you were doing other things throughout the fight. So it was all right, but it's one that, again, Guild Wars 2 has so many metas, right? And that's the kind of the plus and the positive and the negative of them having every zone have a meta event, is they can't all be bangers, right? We will, as a community, choose the ones that we either the most fun or that are the most profitable, and we'll keep doing those and kind of abandon the others. Like, I haven't done a Path of Fire meta in actual years, but I love doing the Heart of Thorns ones. I just find them quite fun. Specifically Dragon Stand. Dragon Stand and Octavine I do a lot. The other two not so much. But with all of these to choose from, unless I need something, I'm not going to go back here to one that I just didn't really enjoy. And that's kind of it. That's kind of simple, how simple it is. Also, this whole map was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points of interest, and 1 Vista and 1 Mastery Point. So, I mean, I get it. But what they basically did here is this is only for the meta. Is there anywhere else that they've done this before? Like West and East? No. I mean, this whole zone's kind of a meta. But it's just like this entire release does not, like this whole area pretty much doesn't have an open world. It's almost like the last section of Dragon Stand where you need to do the meta to then run around and get map comp. Except for this one, the map comp sucks. Like, they didn't even update the lanterns. You only have to do the lanterns over to here to get like the other stuff. So it was very much at the end was a that's it moment. Also the frustrations of trying to get it to work. I'm sure they'll fix that possibly before I even get this video out. But the fact that I couldn't even get this meta to work until I bounced through 8 maps, that was really rough. The map that's a mine in Cantha. Oh my god, I forgot that one existed. Yeah, I haven't. I did that one once. Giala Delve. Yeah. I guess I never did the tunnel. God, this freaking tunnel. I did the tunnel once on my engineer, and I've never done it again. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's another example of one that my brain didn't make the happy juice, so I didn't go back. All right, so that's enough about the meta. That's what I thought about that. Convergence challenge mode. I got a group of people that I don't have a static 50-man group. I asked my chat. I was like, guys, I want to learn this. We'll probably fail, but I'll do my best to lead it, and we'll see what happens. I got 49 people from my chat. Wonderful people. They filed in. I was like, all right, if you're a healer, please join a separate group. And a bunch of people went down. I was like, all right, if you're a quickness or alacrity DPS, pair up with a healer that gives the other one. And we got that. I'm like, DPS, fill in the rest. So I got, decently organized groups that had all the boons and had healers in every group. And then I organized things. I was like, all right, group 3, you guys are hunting down siege machines. 4, 5, 6, you guys go to the bottom right corner. 7, 8, 9, you guys go to the bottom right corner. Everyone else stay middle and guard Zoja. Now, maybe the stuff was spawning faster. Maybe. But halfway through it, I was like, guys, I put it on challenge mode, right? I couldn't tell. And they were like, yeah, it says challenge mode in the top right corner. And I'm like, okay. Maybe they were just gamers. I was on EU. Maybe EU was just full of gamers. I don't know. I couldn't tell. We blasted it. We had like 9 minutes remaining at the end with this fully pug group. Mighty Teapot static group killed it like 20 minutes faster than we did. I have no idea what the DPS in our party was. Our DPS was broken at the time, but I could not tell. So it wasn't bad. I'm sure some communities will have fun trying to race each other with timers and stuff like that. But I tell you, if you're stressed about trying it with a little bit of organization, it feels the same. It's not bad. So yeah, there's that. Next up, Obsidian Armor 2. I have gotten it started. I'll make a guide on this if it's not out by the time you see this video. Obsidian Armor 2. If you care to do it, this is the Obsidian Armor that has... Sorry. It has these weird glowy runes and stuff on it. Alright, so I made a single piece of Obsidian Armor that I didn't need simply to make a guide on Obsidian Armor a while back. So I looked at what it requires to get this. And basically, you go to this dude and you buy this stone. And the stone is very inexpensive. It just requires some currencies from this expansion. And once you have the stone in your bag, it's this guy right here, you get this thing. And this shopping list is a lot, or it's not much if you just let it kind of happen over time. And do a bunch of rifts, do 3 convergences, do a bunch of events in Soto, light a bunch of lanterns, do 3 world bosses in Tyria, and complete 3 metas in Soto. If you were trying to crank all this out in a day, this would probably feel awful. To me, again, my opinion. If you were just like, I just completed my first piece of obsidian armor, buy this stone now and just have it sit in your bag so this stuff is getting checked off over time, so that if you want to make the second tier later on, it's not bad. Because if you're trying to, now on the bright side, it's very cheap. It costs you almost nothing if you're doing it the chill way. There is a pay to rush way on the merchant as well. Don't recommend it. It's insanely expensive. But if you do this the chill way, it's basically free. It just takes a lot of time. And then every time you do this whole list, you can upgrade 2 pieces of obsidian gear to the shiny obsidian gear. Now remember, it's cosmetic only, but if you want to do this, once you finish 1 obsidian, start this ASAP so that this starts collecting data. And you can see it down here. You can see the progress down here on your buffs. So I'm going to have like 20 more buffs for the next year until this finishes. You do all that 3 times for a full set. Every time you complete this achievement, you get 2 tokens. 1 token upgrades 1 obsidian piece to the next thing. So, like, Lord Hyzen looked at it because he wanted to make one for all 3 sets, and he was like, I'm going to have to do this achievement 9 times. I don't know if I'm going to do that. He was daunted. He was absolutely daunted. So you need the item in your bags. I have not tested it, but that's what it says. But I haven't put the item in my bank and then gone and done a convergence to see if it checks off. I don't know. But it says to have the item in your bag. Where do you get this item from? Look, just look up this achievement and freaking read it right there, okay? Just do that, okay. All right, so that's that. That is the tier 2 obsidian stuff. That's my thoughts on that. Moving on from there, the balance. Most of the balance stuff today, like specifically today, is related to PvP and World v World, and I did not do that today, so I have no opinion on that. As far as the balance of the game across Soto, I'm fine with most of it. I think Virtuoso is a little too much of an answer to every problem right now in PvE, and PvP specifically in the game has not felt worse to me in the last 6 years. For anyone who doesn't know, I like PvP. I've played about 5,000 rounds of it over the last few years. However, I'm not hardly touching it at all right now, and instead playing other games with that time because everyone is just a glass cannon. Like, you make a mistake, you run a corner, someone one-shots you. It kind of feels like an FPS right now, and I peek into it like once a month to try it out. Get usually exploded. There's like one guy on the enemy team. Like the last time I went in there, I think a Deadeye hit me with venomous volley with a axe for like 16,000 damage and just one-shot me. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't play another game after that. It's very glassy, and it makes me want to, instead of the time I would spend doing PvP matches for fun, I would just play other games. I would love to see that changed. I think it's a bit too glass cannon right now. We'll see if anything happens. Maybe the devs think it's fine, maybe they don't. I don't know, but that's my thoughts on that. New relics. New relics were added in today's patch, and if we go in here, type in relic, and use the 3rd achievement, we can look at them. Relic of Founding gives you barrier when you combo a leap finisher in a field. My first thought when I see this is Scrapper, which does a lot of leap combos for providing quickness to their team. However, they don't need this because they already give themselves barrier constantly through their passive. So I don't know who would use this. Removing a non-damaging condition whenever you evade an attack. My first thought on this is Daredevil, or someone using the Daredevil staff because of the pole vaulting thing. And the Vindicator, who's constantly doing evades when they're leaping up and down. Those in PvP could get a lot of cleansing out of this. It has a 1-second cooldown. Relic of the Scrapper, when you inflict cripple, chill, or mobile, you also inflict a vulnerability. Vulnerability is more common than cripple, chill, or immobilize. I don't know what this would be used for. Relic of the Twin Generals, gain might and weaken nearby enemies when you use a healing skill. Grant additional might for each enemy struck. It's 20 seconds of might on a 10-second cooldown. You could put it on a Tempest and then use the Warhorn skill to spread the whole might to your party, but they don't need help keeping might up on their party. So I don't know. 10-second cooldown could also be abused by Herald, which has multiple healing skills, or by Mesmer or Firebrand, who have mantras with very short cooldowns with multiple applications. So there might be some use for this, I'm not really sure. Relic of the Wayfinder, this is my favorite from this set. Permanent 25% increased movement speed in combat, permanent 33% movement speed out of combat, so swiftness, and super speed for 4 seconds when you enter combat. This is now a way to take a PvP build that suffers from low mobility and using your relic slot, get movement speed. Now you could do that with runes earlier by doing something like, what was it? Hold on, let me go here. And it was like Rune of the Traveler or Rune of the Lynx could give you movement speed, but you sacrifice possibly the rune set bonus you wanted. But now you can use your relic slot to get that. Some classes like Chrono and Willbender always have a bonus to movement speed because it's passive. Other classes like Druid used to have it, and it's even still a boot icon, but then they completely changed it and now we don't have a movement speed trait. So we have to get that somewhere else. So really like that new relic. I think that's my favorite one in the batch because it opens up different builds. And the last one was Zakiros. When you're under the effects of Fury, convert a percentage of your outgoing crit strike damage into healing. So you have life stealing. You have life stealing when you have that. So those are pretty good. I think this is a good batch. Some of them definitely look good. Some of them I can't find a use for, and some of them have potential. But yeah, those are new relics that were added today. And I just want to talk about that briefly. So I think that's it. These are my bullet points that were reminding me of what I wanted to talk about. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the new content. Those are my thoughts on the new content in the final update of Secrets of the Obscure. We should be getting sometime in the coming weeks to month or two, update on the new expansion, which is going to be in 3 months, and see what's going to happen there. I'm sure the team at ArenaNet learned a lot while making Soto, which will allow them to be more efficient making the next expansion. That doesn't guarantee it will be better. It's like if you thought Soto was a, 7 out of 10, that doesn't guarantee the next one will be higher than a 7 out of 10 in your eyes or whatever, but it should make it easier on them, which means there's more potential for them to focus more creative energy on it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I was just sharing my thoughts for anyone who cared to listen. Thank you guys for being here. And if you got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, or your own thoughts on Soto after you've tried everything, let us know. Oh, you know what? There was one thing I didn't talk about. My favorite things in Soto. I loved the Weapon Master specialization and the new weapons we got. I think I briefly mentioned that. That was something that was, I think, an acceptable trade for not getting new elite specs. And I loved the strike missions and the convergences. Those are really fun. You've seen me in many of my videos. I use the strike missions to test builds. I think they're fantastic for going in. With a pug, if they're decently intelligent, you can get it done. It's just get in, get the job done, get out, get paid. And it's wonderful. They're quick to access. They're wonderful bite-sized content. I really enjoy them. And they give rewards every day. Like, I enjoy raids, but raids only give you the reward once a week. So it's like, oh, I could raid, but I'm not really gonna get as much unless I, unless I wait until next Monday. So, it adds a kind of a wrench in that. So strikes are cool because you can get the rewards every day. Strikes are also weekly. Yeah, there's daily strikes though. Daily strikes, every day there's a daily strike that pays big. And also Iceberg Saga strikes, all the rewards are daily. But yes, the non-daily rewards for strikes after Iceberg Saga are weekly, but if you're just doing dailies, it doesn't matter. What about the new Ranger pets? The new Ranger pets are the chalk and the floating eyeball thing, the spine gazer. The chalk thing is very fragile. I tried to use it in PvP once and it got immediately destroyed. Oh yeah, the sand shark too, that's right. Sand shark is kind of a bruiser, decent damage, decent survivability. It has some potential. It had a bug the first 3 months it was in the game or something, where anytime you swapped pets to the sand shark, it would be stunned for like 3 to 4 seconds. And it made it unusable in most builds. So it only recently got fixed, it feels like. The chalk one has a cool large AoE cripple thing, but it doesn't really have anything it super shines at. And then the juvenile spine gazer, it is able to boon rip, or boon corrupt. It can corrupt 2 boons with a 20-second cooldown. Something that core ranger did not have access to before and now does. That's kind of neat. For example, today we did the fractal, and the boss had no pain, no gain, and so he was occasionally getting like protection and might and something else. And we did not have a lot of boon removal in our group, and I was using this to help with that. So this was useful in that situation. Outside of needing boon rip, I don't know how good it is. It's basically a ranged DPS. It shoots lasers and does conditions. Could be good, I'm not sure. It needs more testing. This is day 1 of me having it, so I'm not sure on that. But yeah, there's a couple of welcome additions to the Ranger kit there. Okay, with that, I've got a few repeat questions in my live chat, so I'll get to those. But as far as this video is concerned, those are my thoughts on the Secrets of the Obscure expansion as a whole and what I thought about the new content update. And I'm curious what yours are as well. If you are watching this video in the future and you have any opinions on it, whether you loved the writing, you hated the writing, you loved the gameplay, you hated the gameplay, somewhere in between, I've told you what I thought about it. Let me know what you thought about it. Throw that down below. I'll read it, and I'll see you in the next one.